The air was thick with tension at the community center, where Frank Carter's funeral was being held. People shuffled about, exchanging quiet condolences, but my mind was elsewhere. As Henry stood by my side, supporting me, I noticed Laura approaching us, her eyes burning with disdain. "We don't need you here. You're just a stranger in this family." Laura spat, loud enough for everyone to hear, her voice slicing through the low hum of conversations. Heads turned, whispers started. I felt a cold sweat spread along my back, but I steadied myself. "Laura, please," Henry interjected softly, trying to de-escalate. "This isn't the time." Laura turned on him, her expression a twist of anger and what seemed like satisfaction. "Oh, so now you speak up. Where was this spine when your father was alive?" Henry squeezed my hand, a pained look flashing in his eyes. But before he could reply, Laura turned back to me. "You've always thought you could replace me, haven't you? Took everything from me and now you show up here. How dare you?" I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain calm, even though her words felt like daggers. "Laura, we are here to honor Frank. To say goodbye, not to fight." She laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Honor? You wouldn't know the meaning of the word." At that moment, Samantha, my best friend, stepped in. "Laura, this isn't the place for this. We're here to mourn, not to argue." Laura's eyes flicked over Samantha dismissively. "Stay out of this, Samantha. This is family business." Samantha didn't back down. "Emma is family," she said firmly, her voice a shield around me. Henry finally found his voice. "Mom, Emma is my wife. She's family. Dad would be heartbroken to see us fighting like this." Laura's face contorted in anger. "Don't you dare speak about your father. What would he think of this circus you're dragging through his memory?" Before I could respond, a frail voice called out from behind us. "Enough!" It was Dr. Emily Harris, Frank's doctor. She stepped forward, her expression one of firm resolve. "Today is about Frank. Let's remember him with the dignity he deserves." Laura glared at her, but the moment of power had passed. The crowd began to murmur in agreement. Dr. Harris gave me a sympathetic nod before turning back to Laura. "Please, let's not spoil this for everyone." As Laura stepped back, the storm in her eyes dimming a bit, I felt the weight of the confrontation lifting. Henry's hand remained in mine, his grip solid and unwavering. Together, we turned and approached Frank's photo at the head of the room, placing flowers down as a final gesture of farewell. All around us, people resumed their hushed conversations, leaving the confrontation behind. But I knew this was just the beginning. Laura's venom wasn't new, nor did I expect it to vanish. Today had been a curtain pulled back, revealing the depth of the strife that lay ahead. As I looked up at Henry, our silent understanding affirmed our unity against the brewing storm. The echoes of Laura's rage faded, replaced by the steady hum of support from those who knew the real stakes. In that moment, despite the turmoil, I felt a spark of determination ignited. I knew what we stood for and who we were, ready to face what came next, side by side. A few months earlier, life seemed simpler. Henry and I had just settled into our small, cozy home on the outskirts of town. We enjoyed a peaceful routine that kept us both in high spirits. Every Saturday morning, we'd browse the farmer's market, picking out fresh vegetables and chatting with the locals. Henry's phone buzzed one evening, breaking our tranquil routine. He glanced at the screen and sighed. "It's Mom," he said, weariness already creeping into his voice. He answered, and her voice carried through the phone loud enough for me to hear. "Henry, you never call anymore. Are you too busy for your own mother now?" I watched Henry, feeling a pang of sympathy. His shoulders tensed as he tried to remain gentle. "Mom, we just spoke a couple of days ago. What's going on?" Laura sighed dramatically. "Your father's been insufferable. I think he's lost his mind. Can't you come over and convince him to behave?" Henry gritted his teeth. "I'll talk to him, Mom, but it sounds like you need to speak to a counselor or something." She laughed bitterly. "Of course, the moment I need you, you suggest therapy. Nice, Henry. I'll let you get back to your perfect little life." As Henry hung up, I put a hand on his shoulder. "Everything okay?" He shook his head. "It never is with her." Days turned into weeks, and the calls became more frequent and acerbic. It felt like a storm was gathering. One evening, there was a knock on our door. Henry opened it to find Frank standing there. His usually sturdy frame seemed frail, his eyes carrying years of silent suffering. "Frank, come in," I said, guiding him to the couch. "Would you like some tea?" Frank nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "Thank you, Emma." Henry sat beside him, a worry etched across his face. "Dad, what's going on? Why are you here?" Frank took a deep breath, then spoke with a trembling voice. I can't take her abuse anymore. Please come live with us or I'm leaving her. Henry and I exchanged stunned looks. The man we saw as strong and unyielding was breaking in front of us. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of his plea hanging heavy in the air. Finally, I spoke up. Frank, we'll help you. We'll move in. Henry looked at me with a mixture of relief and sadness. We'll be there, Dad. We won't let you suffer alone. The decision was made. The next few days were a whirlwind of packing and planning. Each box sealed felt like a step closer to a life fraught with turmoil. I watched Henry as he carefully packed, his determination clear, even if unspoken. I knew this was going to be hard, but in every action I saw the resolve to make things right for Frank. As we closed the door to our small home one last time, a sense of foreboding settled in. I tightened my grip on Henry's hand. Together we were stepping into a new chapter, one where bonds would be tested and shadows of the past would loom large. Yet with every step, our unity grew stronger. Ready or not, we were heading into the storm. The early days of living under Laura's roof felt like stepping into a minefield. The moment we walked through the door, Laura's eyes skimmed over our bags as if tallying up inconveniences. So, it's true, you're really moving in, she said, her tone dripping with disdain. Henry forced a smile, trying to ease the tension. We want to help, Mom. It'll be easier this way. Laura scoffed. Help? All I see is you bringing your mess into my home. Frank looked down, his shoulders hunched as if bracing for more verbal blows. I knew we had to make this work, for his sake. Days turned into weeks, and every morning brought a new challenge. Laura's antagonism was relentless. She'd comment on everything from the way I cooked to how I cleaned. I see you've never heard of a dust rag, she said one morning, her lips curled in a bitter smile. I bit back my retort, focusing on making breakfast. Henry came in, sensing the tension. Morning, Mom. Everything okay? Laura didn't miss a beat. Just wondering why you married someone who can't even maintain a home properly. Henry took a deep breath. Emma's doing her best, Mom. We're all adjusting. Laura rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath that I couldn't quite catch, but I didn't need to. The message was clear. In the evenings, the real challenge began. Laura became obsessed with keeping Henry close, often calling him into the living room for trivial tasks or pointless conversations. Frank and I could only watch, feeling the manipulation wrapped tighter around him. One evening, as Henry helped with dinner, Laura called out from the living room, Henry, come here. I need you to move the sofa. Henry sighed, giving me an apologetic look. I'll be right back. I continued chopping vegetables, hearing their muffled voices from the other room. Frank sat at the kitchen table, the wariness of years etched into his face. I'm sorry you have to deal with this, Emma. I placed a hand on his. We're family, Frank. We'll get through it. But it wasn't just the belittling and manipulation. Frank's silent suffering was becoming more evident. One night, as we all sat in the living room, Laura's barbs grew sharper. Maybe if you'd been more of a man, Frank, we wouldn't be in this mess. He flinched but stayed silent. Something in me snapped. That's enough, Laura. You don't get to speak to him like that. She turned on me, eyes blazing. How dare you? This is my house, and I'll say whatever I please. Henry stepped between us. Mom, stop. Emma's right. You've crossed the line. Laura's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, the room was filled with a dangerous silence. You think you can stop me? This is far from over. The silence that followed was thick with unspoken threats. As we retreated to our room that night, I knew we were in a battle of wills, and Laura had no intention of losing. Each interaction left us more resolute. We were ready to fight for our peace and for Frank's dignity, no matter what it took. The house was a battleground, but within our unit we grew stronger each day. The storm finally hit one afternoon. I was in the kitchen making lunch when I heard a crash followed by Frank's pained groan. I rushed to the living room, heart pounding. Frank, I cried. He was collapsed on the floor, one hand clutching his chest. Oh my God. Laura stood nearby, her face a mask of indifference. He's been like this for a while. He's just seeking attention. I shot her a look of disbelief. Did you call 911? She shrugged, glancing at her nails. I thought he was faking it. I quickly grabbed the phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking. Henry burst into the room, eyes wide with panic. What happened? He's having a stroke, I think. Laura didn't call for help. Henry's face went pale with anger. Mom, what's wrong with you? Laura didn't flinch. Oh, quit being dramatic. He'll be fine. The paramedics arrived and swiftly took over. They loaded Frank onto a stretcher, and Henry went with them to the hospital, leaving me to deal with Laura. She watched them leave, an odd mix of relief and irritation on her face. "He should have taken better care of himself," she muttered. I clenched my fists, struggling to keep my voice steady. "This isn't his fault. You could have helped him." She rolled her eyes. "Please, he's always been weak." I turned away before I said something I regretted. The paramedics had assured me they would take good care of Frank, but the image of him lying on the floor haunted me. I followed Henry to the hospital after quick arrangements with Samantha to keep us updated at home. In the sterile hospital room, Dr. Emily Harris delivered the verdict. Frank had a major stroke. We also found late-stage cancer. Henry's hand tightened on mine. "What can we do?" Dr. Harris sighed. "He needs full-time care, physical therapy, and lots of support." I met Henry's eyes, a silent decision forming between us. "I'll do it. I'll take care of him." Henry looked at me, gratitude and sorrow blending in his gaze. "Are you sure?" "Yes, he needs us." Back at home, Laura's hostility grew. She was completely uninvolved in Frank's care. I woke up early and worked all day, cleaning, cooking, and helping Frank with his exercises while Laura watched from a distance. One night, as I was administering Frank's medication, Laura entered, her eyes narrowed. "You're wasting your time. He's not going to get better." I bristled but focused on Frank, who gave a weak smile. "Thank you, Emma." Laura crossed her arms. "You think this makes you a saint? It doesn't. You're just fooling yourself." Henry entered the room, hearing her words. "Mom, if you can't be supportive, at least stay out of the way." His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. Laura's eyes flashed with anger, but she turned on her heel and stormed out. That night, as I lay beside Henry, the weight of the day pressing down on me, I felt a renewed resolve. Laura's cruelty only fueled my determination to protect Frank. I knew we were in for a long, hard battle, but with each passing day, my resolve to ensure justice for Frank grew stronger. We were ready to fight, no matter the cost. Each day seemed longer than the last. My time was a blur of caregiving and housework. Henry tried to help whenever he could, but his job kept him away for long hours. It fell on me to handle the overwhelming majority of Frank's needs. One afternoon, I found Laura in the kitchen, pulling tissues out of the box one by one and tossing them on the counter. "Why are you doing that?" I asked, exasperation creeping into my voice. She smirked. "Just making sure you're kept busy. Can't have you slacking off." I couldn't believe her pettiness. "Laura, this is ridiculous. I have enough to do without your games." She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "Oh, poor you. Playing the martyr doesn't suit you, Emma." I turned away, refusing to give her the satisfaction of a response. As I resumed my chores, my mind was racing. How could anyone be so cruel? After weeks of this constant battle, the pressure reached a boiling point. One evening, as I was helping Frank to bed, Laura stormed in. "Why are you wasting your time on him? He should just die already and leave me everything. Instead, I'm stuck with you playing Florence Nightingale." I froze, the horror of her words hitting me hard. "How can you say that? He's your husband." She crossed her arms, her expression hard as stone. "He's a burden, and so are you." Henry arrived just in time to see my distress. "Mom, that's enough. You have no right to speak like that." Laura laughed bitterly. "You're so blind, Henry, always bending over backward for everyone but your own mother. Pathetic." Henry's face turned pale with anger. "You've gone too far. If you can't be supportive, you need to stay away from us." Laura's eyes flashed with fury. "You think you can get rid of me? I won't make it that easy." The room went silent. The only sound was Frank's labored breathing. As Laura stormed out, the weight of her words lingered. Henry took my hand, his grip firm. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I didn't realize how bad she had become." I nodded, my resolve hardening. "We need to protect Frank. We need to stop her." In the days that followed, things only got worse. Laura's sabotage turned from minor inconveniences to deliberate acts of cruelty. One morning, I found Frank's medications missing. I searched frantically until I found them hidden in the trash. "Laura, why would you do this?" I demanded, holding up the medication bottles. She shrugged nonchalantly. "Maybe I just forgot where I put them. Who knows?" That was the final straw. I knew we needed proof of her actions if we had any chance of stopping her. I decided to install a small recording device in the living room, hoping to capture her cruelty. That evening, as Laura ranted about her disdain for Frank, the recorder picked up every vile word. Henry and I listened in silence later, our resolve steeling. We were ready to fight back. As Laura's true intentions became clearer, my anger fueled my determination. We were going to save Frank from her poison, and we were going to do it together. The battle lines were drawn, and there was no turning back. The tension in the house had reached breaking point. Each day, Laura's venom grew bolder, her attempts to undermine us more deliberate. I couldn't shake the feeling that something truly terrible was about to happen. One afternoon, while Henry was at work, I decided to record Laura's actions. I set up the device discreetly, praying it would give us the evidence we needed. As I moved to the living room, I heard her voice slithering through the hallway. "Are you so desperate for attention, Frank? You think anyone cares about your pitiful state?" I clenched my fists but stayed hidden, letting the recorder capture every word. Frank's weak reply nearly broke me. "Please, just stop." Laura laughed, a hollow, chilling sound. "I'll stop when you're gone. Maybe then I'll finally get some peace." Her words were poison, seeping into the air. I stood there, heart pounding, anger burning in my veins. But I had to stay quiet, had to let her incriminate herself. Later that evening, I shared the recording with Henry. His face turned white as he listened, his hands shaking. "I can't believe she said this, and to him." "We need more proof," I said firmly. "This isn't enough by itself." Determined, we started recording every interaction we could. Laura, oblivious to our plan, continued her tirades, unaware that each vile word was being documented. The evidence piled up, each recording a damning piece of the puzzle. Several nights later, as I tucked Frank into bed, something hidden among his belongings caught my eye, a small yellowed envelope worn with age. I opened it carefully, revealing signed, undated divorce papers. My breath caught in my throat. Frank had been planning an escape, his desperation evident in every shaky signature. Henry walked in just as I was reading them. "What's that?" he asked, peering over my shoulder. "Divorce papers," I whispered. He was going to leave her. Henry's face hardened. "This changes everything." The next day, Laura's cruelty escalated. She screamed at Frank for not finishing his food, her voice echoing through the house. "You think this is a hotel? I'm not your maid." Frank's frail figure trembled. "I'm sorry. I'm trying." That night, as we reviewed the recordings, something in Henry snapped. She's not going to get away with this. With solid evidence now in our hands, we knew it was time to confront her. The inevitable showdown loomed, casting a shadow over everything. But we were ready. The day of the funeral was chosen for the confrontation. Family and friends gathered, unaware of the storm that was about to unleash. As Laura put on her facade of grief, Henry and I exchanged a resolute nod. We approached her calmly but with purpose. "Mom, we need to talk," Henry said loudly, drawing everyone's attention. Laura's eyes flickered with confusion before narrowing. "Can't this wait?" "No," I said, my voice steady. "Everyone needs to hear this." As we revealed the recordings and the divorce papers, the room fell silent. Laura's mask of composure cracked, revealing the depths of her guilt and venom. The room erupted in gasps and whispers, her facade unraveling before our eyes. Henry's voice cut through the chaos. "You're not my mother anymore. You've done nothing but cause suffering." Laura's desperate cry echoed in the hall. "You're trying to take my inheritance." I stepped forward, holding up the papers. "You lost any claim when you treated him like this. You're already divorced." The community watched, judgmental eyes turning towards Laura, her lies exposed. In that moment, justice felt close at hand, our fight almost over. As the funeral drew to a close, one thing was clear. Laura's reign of cruelty was finally broken. Laura glared at us as the weight of the evidence crashed down on her. The whist from the crowd grew louder, eyes filled with shock and disgust focused on her. Henry held up the divorce papers for everyone to see. "You've lied to everyone. These papers prove that Frank had enough, and you dragged him through hell," he declared, his voice shaking with emotion. Laura's face twisted in horror, her control slipping. "This is a lie. This is all a setup to steal what's rightfully mine." I stepped forward, my gaze locked on hers. "You treated Frank with nothing but cruelty and neglect. It's over, Laura. Everyone knows the truth now." The room fell into an uneasy silence, every eye watching the confrontation. Then Henry's voice broke the tension. "You're not my mother anymore. Leave before you embarrass yourself further." Laura tried to laugh, but her voice cracked. "You can't get rid of me. I'll fight this. Henry cut her off. "There's nothing left to fight for." Frank made sure of that. Laura's composure shattered, and she lunged toward Henry. "You traitor! You think you can do this to me?" Henry stood his ground, unwavering. "You've done this to yourself." Just then, Samantha moved beside me, her voice a cool whisper in my ear. "It's time, Emma." I nodded. "Laura, it's over. You've lost." In a final act of desperation, Laura shrieked, "You're all against me. I was the one who sacrificed everything for this family." People began murmuring again, their judgment piercing through her defenses. She looked around, realizing her isolation. Without another word, she turned and stormed out of the hall, the weight of her disgrace trailing behind her. Once she was gone, the room remained tense, but there was also a sense of relief. The community had seen the truth. Henry clutched my hand tightly, his eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and resolution. As the service concluded, people approached us with words of support and condolences. Despite the heavy atmosphere, there was a sense of unity against the wrongs that had been exposed. Later that evening, as we returned home, Henry and I sat in silence, absorbing the day's events. He finally broke it, his voice thick with emotion. I never imagined it would end this way. I squeezed his hand. We did the right thing, Henry. For Frank. He nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. We did, and now we can finally move forward. The following days were a whirlwind of tying up loose ends. Laura's absence left an echo of tension, but also a growing sense of peace. The truth had set us free, and it was time to honor Frank's memory by living in a way that celebrated his life rather than mourning his loss. Henry and I made plans to start fresh, dedicating some of Frank's inheritance to charity work in his name. With each step, we reaffirmed our commitment to live with kindness and integrity, embracing the lessons learned through our trials. As we settled into our new home, away from the shadows of the past, we found solace in the simple joys of daily life. The journey had been harrowing, but it also had strengthened our bond. One evening, standing by Frank's grave, Henry spoke softly. "Goodbye, Dad. We'll carry your legacy forward." I joined him, my voice a quiet promise. "We promise to honor your memory every day." With that, we walked away, hand in hand, ready to embrace our new beginning, our hearts full of peace and the enduring love that would guide us forward. Henry and I moved into our new home, a modest but cozy bungalow on the edge of town. The past haunted me less and less each day, replaced by a growing sense of peace. The shadow Laura cast had finally lifted, allowing the light of healing to shine through. One evening, we sat on the porch, enjoying the cool breeze. "How are you feeling about everything?" Henry asked, his eyes searching mine. I took a deep breath. We did what we had to. Frank's peace matters more than the havoc Laura caused. Henry nodded. "I can feel him here with us, you know? It's like he's finally at rest." We decided to dedicate a portion of Frank's inheritance to charity, focusing on causes that mattered to him. It felt good to turn the pain we'd experienced into something constructive, something that would benefit others. In the following weeks, we became more involved in the community. Volunteering at local shelters and food banks became a regular part of our routine. One day, while serving meals to the homeless, a man approached me. He looked worn, life having clearly taken its toll on him. "Thank you for this," he said, his voice cracking. "It means more than you know." I smiled and handed him a plate. "It's our pleasure. Everyone deserves kindness." As he walked away, Henry came over, carrying another tray. "This is what Frank would have wanted, Emma. To make a real difference." We continued to live by this mantra, every step a tribute to Frank's memory. As Laura's presence faded, the love Henry and I shared grew stronger. Each day we reminded ourselves of our resilience, our ability to find light in the darkest of times. One morning, Samantha joined us for coffee on the porch. "I'm so proud of you both," she said, her eyes twinkling. "You've turned something so tragic into hope." Henry and I exchanged glances, both smiling. "It's been a journey," he admitted, "but we've had incredible support." Samantha raised her cup. "To new beginnings and lasting legacies." As we clinked our mugs together, a sense of closure washed over me. We had faced unimaginable challenges, but we emerged stronger and more unified than ever. Later that afternoon, Henry and I visited Frank's grave one last time. We brought flowers, placing them gently on the grass. The sun set, casting a golden hue over the cemetery. Henry spoke softly, breaking the silence. "Goodbye, Dad. We'll carry your legacy forward." I added, my voice full of conviction. "We promise to honor your memory every day." As we walked back to our car, hand in hand, I felt a profound sense of peace. The past was finally behind us, and the future was filled with promise. We had endured the storm and come out the other side, stronger and more determined to live with love and gratitude. This was our new beginning, shaped by the lessons learned and the love inherited from Frank. The darkness of Laura's cruelty could never overshadow the light we had found. We were ready to live fully, embracing each day with open hearts, forever mindful of the legacy we carried forward.